that obviousness, right? But it really comes down to an ownership by posing it as that, right? Because it's fine to say in theory, well, everybody has to, follow the law and everything else. Like, there's a lot of ways to deal with reparations, penalties, adjustments, what the law calls a remedy. And there's a way to absorb some of the people that are here, right? Why not start with that? It's like, oh yeah, we'll get everybody out and then start over. Well, that's 10 or 12 years from now. At this pace, if you can even keep it up. I doubt you can keep it up.
And I don't know whether they intend to keep it up. And for sure, after this administration ends, who knows what the policy of the next administration is going to be, right?
Exactly.
And we've been very, very inconsistent in our approach to this issue, as we have been inconsistent in our approach to many issues.
And this is a worldwide thing, to be fair to America, right? Like a worldwide thing about how immigration and cultural assimilation is handled. And, there's, doesn't matter how much of an economic case, and it's an incontrovertible economic case, that immigration enhances the economic power of a nation that is absorbing more people. But regardless, the cultural upheaval that happens is so much in the other direction, it takes years for that to become apparent.
That's been true with every wave of immigrants, right?
Exactly. Because people don't like hearing the truth of this, but people on a per capita basis contribute more than they can.
Yeah, and that's the way I would look at things, but then you have those who say, but what about this person, the outlier? What about that person? If that person wasn't in the country on welfare, then they shouldn't be here. They're not contributing. You can't. It's an argument that's very hard.
Yeah, it's fair, but we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? There's some things we can agree on that we can move the ball forward with, and it should start from if God forbid, we were starting another country, we would want people to come to it, right? It's like we want to be able to absorb as many as we can sustain and support, not start with how do we get rid of everybody. That's not, again, this is going to prove it from the question I was asking basically, which is, here you have apparently the toughest on immigration ever going to be, and even these guys at this pace couldn't possibly take care of the problem just getting rid of everybody. It proves it.
Thank you, Daniel. We'll go to Andrew, followed by William.
Good afternoon, Gary. I trust you can hear me okay.
We've been through this.
Oh, did you hear Stevie Eiserman's gone, eh?
I had anticipated that, yes, but Steve Eiserman was canned as the general manager of the Detroit Red Wings. Had he not been Steve Eiserman, he would have been gone a long time ago.
Stevie was a hero for sure. This particular administration, I believe, has no regard for the course of the law. I think they tout the law when it's in their favor, but they ignore it when they have that feeling to do so. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that out of the 17, I guess it's 17 now, 16 of those investigations were summarily quoted as being justifiable prior to any investigation. So if you go in with that mindset, then it's no wonder that I think many of these agents may think that they're invulnerable to that direct watchfulness of these agencies, other agencies of the law, etc. It's been very successful in othering. I mean, I've heard the word people used quite a bit here when speaking of it, but I don't think that's how the administration views these illegal aliens. In fact, they're not people, they're rapists, they're drug dealers and murderers, and they eat cats and dogs. So when you use that sort of language, I think to a large extent it shows just where this administration, how it feels about these quote-unquote people. And want to remove them. But I like Daniel's point that you can only get rid of 2 million or so, and what do you do with the rest? But also with the courts, reducing the courts, if you want people to be terrorized, and I'll use that word intentionally, then you reduce those court systems so that they don't get a fair hearing. They don't get in front of the due process that should be afforded them and has been in the past. And then you lock them up in what is sanitizingly called detention centers, which I don't know that that's an adequate description of the environment in which these people are in. You just had another person die being transferred today, Venezuelan, from one detention center to another, and this is indicative too of the othering of people. If they're not people in your mind, then they don't deserve any considerations, and this is the situation that you now have in the United States. I would be interested, Scott had mentioned that 65% of Americans find this distasteful, and I would be curious as to how that falls in terms of the political demographics vis-a-vis Republican versus Democratic. Anyway, I'll end there, and thanks, Gary, appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll go to William, followed by Steve.
Gary, I think the word you were looking for before was scapegoating. Basically, scapegoating is the form of propaganda that was used against Jews in Europe before World War II, during World War II. Scapegoating is a tool often used by authoritarians. There have been a lot of good authors that have been writing on this, and I put a link in the chat, which lists a lot of books from New York Times Review, but like Ruth Ben-Ghiat is one of them that studied Italian fascism. Tim Snyder studied Eastern Europe in detail and wrote a great book about the time period between like Hitler through Stalin and all that went on in Eastern Europe. And Ann Snyder is probably one of the leading speakers and analysts and scholars of this area. And I think if we look at what has happened in other countries, it can be instructive. The history doesn't repeat, but there are certainly patterns that if we look at it, we can learn warning signs, learn from it, learn what to avoid. And when you have a president that talks about people as vermin in dehumanizing terms, that sets a mood, that sets an agenda. That's how, when my family had to flee from the Russian Empire before the USSR, we left for economic opportunity, but also for religious persecution and, all kinds of targeting and discrimination against Jews. So we came to the United States, and that is something that is part of at least my culture, is to be aware of and to look for and to guard against a rise of strongmen, authoritarians, fascists. It's just part of the values and ethics that I was raised by. That when my father enlisted in World War II, he enlisted to fight fascism. He enlisted to fight for America. It's not, you know, I was raised to believe that all of us should be anti-fascist, that we should fight fascism. And the Orwellian corruption of the language to somehow make it out like I'm the villain if I'm anti-fascist is bizarre. It's like, you know, 1984 type Big Brother redefinition of language to suit the person wielding power. So I think scapegoating was the point that, you know, you were looking for a word for it, and I think that is a technique that is used by people that are anti-democratic, that want to consolidate. And there's no single term for fascism, you know, but you know, and there were fascists before Mussolini, but they weren't called that. Mussolini kind of created the modern term of fascism. But
Why are you injecting fascism into the conversation about ICE? Are you trying?
Because
Donald Trump and ICE are fascists.
So I'd like to finish the question, William, before you answer it. Are you trying to attach the label of fascism upon ICE?
I believe that the yes, I believe that and let me finish. I believe that the climate, that the culture, that whatever training they got or didn't get, the leadership has encouraged a culture that allows them to disregard constitutional constraints, constitutional norms, to act out of compliance with rule of law. And if we don't have rule of law, you know, some of the laws we like, some of the laws we don't, but what do we descend into?
Wait, how do you know they acted outside the rule of law? We don't know that.
Well, I know that when you even when you have a fleeing felon, that there are rules about how, at least...
We didn't say there weren't rules. Just because there are rules doesn't mean, and they didn't abide by the rules, doesn't make them fascist.
Well, could you repeat your question?
What makes them fascist?
The authoritarian style, the mood that is set from the top. When you look at Bovino,
What exactly is the mood set from the top? Because it's Tom Holman sitting on the and Tom Holman has served 5 successive presidents. So what exactly is Tom Holman saying that makes it fascist?
Okay, there was a culture that was set during the Trump 2.0 administration, during the tenure of Kristi Noem and Gregory Bovino, and the massive hiring where they set a tenor, a tone, an attitude, and a culture amongst the troops, the paramilitary troops.
They're not paramilitaries.
Yeah,
They're federal agents. They're different.
When you have people coming out,
Paramilitaries imply something specific. It implies something like the SAD division of the CIA, the Special Activities Division. They are not the Special Activities Division of the CIA.
When you can quibble about the term, but when you have people that
Special Activities Division is paramilitary. ICE is not paramilitary.
when you have people that are up armored, they are armored as if they're going into Fallujah. They are armored. They had
Been armored the entire time they have been serving, even under the Obama administration. They were up armored.
Not like
Yes,
like
they
today.
were bulletproof
Not like
vests.
today.
They
And they
wore
weren't wearing
guns.
masks. They weren't hiding their identities, and that is presumptively a bad
And they
move.
partially hide their identities when they go after criminals who have drug cartel connections. I don't disagree with you that when you're confronting the abuelita down the street, you shouldn't be wearing a mask. But to say that that is somehow fascist is hyperbolic to say the very least.
There are examples within our own country where you can look to jurisdictions that have very good sets of rules for when it's allowed to or appropriate to where
Yes,
and
yes, we can
you
get
like
cooperation
and
committee
okay,
to
well,
say
and
we're
one
on this
jurisdiction
matter
is
and
the
we're
jurisdiction
fine.
where I live.
Do one, and I don't like the crosstalk to begin with, and secondly, we're running out of time, but thirdly, I want to correct a couple of things that were stated. With regard to the up-armoring, the Obama administration placed strict limits on federal agencies, this is according to PBS, acquiring military-style and heavily armored equipment, which ultimately resulted in the revocation of some previously provided tactical gear. But, William, continue yourself for a second, please. But to suggest that this is fascism that we are seeing, it's one thing to say, I don't like the manner in which ICE is operating, but when you throw in the term fascism, and you mention the popularization of the term fascism with regard to Mussolini, you are talking about early 20th century Europe fascist movements, right?
That was where the term was really put into our language, was from Mussolini, but it existed before Mussolini, and it's never been agreed upon, and there are species of it that have existed after Mussolini, like Stalin or Mao.
Okay, so if you look at the Britannica fascism overview, and I'm going to read this to you, and you tell me whether you truly believe to the actions of ICE. According to the Britannica fascism overview, fascist movements prioritize the collective nation or race over individual liberties. Is that what we're dealing with now?
Yes, to some degree.
Some
Yes.
degree.
Yes.
Some
Yeah,
degree.
wait. Britannica is giving, and you're asking me to respond to a multi-point article, so you're going through it one by one, and I would say, and I would have to read the article to actually respond in an intelligent way, but the nationalization, the creating of the underclass, the Untermenschen, the vermin, the language that's used
By ICE? By ICE?
by Trump and by the leadership.
Wait, now you're claiming that Trump's a fascist.
No, that's not what I said. I'm saying that the language that he used.
it.
No, I'm not implying, I'm saying that the language when he talks about people as vermin, when he tries to dehumanize people as groups, when he dehumanizes
That's implying it per your previous comment. You are implying he is
I'm
a
stating it
fascist.
directly, that
Okay,
is a
great.
technique that is
Then
used
you're
by
trapped.
fascists, and if you want me to respond to a multi-point article in Britannica, which I haven't read, I can go through it point by point, and maybe we should do a room where we all read the article in advance.
No, I don't want
Discuss
to
it.
read the article point by point with you, William. Let me give you the Merriam-Webster one-sentence definition of fascism. Can we do that?
We can see if it applies.
That's exactly what I want to do. Let's see if it applies. Fascism is a far-right, authoritarian, and ultra-nationalist political ideology. It is typically characterized by a dictatorial leader, strict societal and economic regimentation, militarism, and the forcible suppression of opposition. Does it apply?
Okay, if you believe that things can exist on a spectrum, and that the one Merriam-Webster.
No.
No.
You're not answering my question. It's a simple question. Does
The
this
simple
definition
answer
apply?
is that attributes of what Merriam-Webster describes as their definition of fascism have been incorporated into the culture of the people who are governing our country and in particular running ICE. And if you look at the authors, if you look at the authors,
Tom Homan is a fascist? Tom Homan is a fascist?
I didn't say that. I'm saying that there are
Well, then they're
elements.
not fascists. Then they're not fascists.
You always like to speak in binaries, and not everything is a binary. Things exist on a gradient, and there can be a backsliding towards something.
Okay, but if you interject the term fascism, I'm just asking you to back it up and not say, there's a spectrum, maybe it applies to this, maybe it doesn't apply to that. Is this a fascist organization or not?
Let's look at specific behaviors.
William, wait. Let me not interject the term fascism. You did. I'm asking you whether you are labeling ICE a fascist organization. Yes or no? That's all I ask you.
I am saying that ICE is incorporating attributes.
I didn't ask you that.
I'm not saying
Why
that
do I ask you one thing and you answer another?
they don't fit the Merriam-Webster definition.
Then your answer is no, you're not.
No, that's not my answer.
Then your answer
Putting
is
words
yes,
in my
you
mouth.
are.
I can answer. I am
No,
saying.
no.
I'm not. No, you're
You know
putting
what?
words
You're
in my mouth.
obfuscating, William.
You're putting words in my mouth. I'm
No,
saying.
I'm not putting words in your mouth. You're obfuscating. Yes or no? Either you are trying to label ICE fascist, or you're not. I'm not arguing that it is or it isn't. I'm just asking you, what are you saying? Clarify. Are you attempting to call ICE a fascist organization? Are you? Either you are or you're not. I'm not asking you about the spectrum of the definition of fascism. I asked you a simple freaking question, and I can't get a simple answer.
You know it's not in black and white.
I think I'm talking dark and not you. Is it raining outside? Yes or no? Well, it may be misty. Is it raining or not? I just wanted a simple yes or no. That went on for over 5 minutes, arguing something that I never even asked. And an earlier caller, Raj, brought up that we were discussing one thing, and then people hijacked the discussion to discuss something else. At that time, that hijacking came from the right. This time, the hijacking came from the left. I try to be the most accommodating moderator on Clubhouse. I really do. I try to be accommodating, but I lose my patience over this nonsense. Because of this argument with this last caller, Agent and Dark just got screwed out of their opportunity to speak. You can say it's my fault as the moderator, and ultimately you're right, but I allowed this guy to hijack the conversation.
Hijack. It's not black and white. Use it as
Okay, Dark, why don't we give the floor to you, and you could be William's defender?
It's fascistic behavior and certain things, but
Okay, Dark. Let me ask you a question and then we leave. Are you interrupting me or not? Yes or no?
I am.
Okay, see? That's all you had to do, yes or no. Are you trying to label ICE fascist or not? That was the question. The question wasn't what the spectrum of fascism
He said it was
is.
nuanced. He said it was nuanced. It's not black and white. It's not a yes
The
or
question,
no.
Dark, the question of whether he was labeling them fascist is not nuanced. Why? Or am I speaking a different language than everybody else today? I never
You're trying to put words in his mouth.
I'm not.
No, he was talking about it being fascist. Come on. It's not that.
I'm not arguing that they are or they are not fascist. I'm asking him, stand up Answer my question. Are you saying they're fascists, or are you not saying they're fascists?
Because he was willing to say Donald Trump was fascist, so you should be willing to say ISIS is fascist too. You should be willing to say it with your chest.
Right, he said Trump's
That's
not
not the point, you guys.
No, it is the point.
The point
They're
is,
either
I asked the
fascist or they're
question.
not fascist.
The
And
question,
if you're going to
the point
accuse
is,
them of being something like the brown shirts, then you should actually have some proof for it.
well, the point is, I asked the question, I wanted an answer. And I'm gonna be a prick from now on.
Well, Gary,
I'm not gonna put up with this bullshit anymore.
Gary, the article you read about the fascism, it's exactly Iran's government. Is ISIS like Iran? I doubt it. For God's sake, give us a break. Go for it. You did a great job.
Yeah, I'm very frustrated today, does it show? Folks, we're here 5 o'clock New York time, Monday through Friday. If I've recovered by tomorrow, we'll be back at 5 o'clock.
Oh, he didn't close it this time.
exciting episode of the John Kitover podcast.
Okay, so give me, so show me. I asked you to show me. Like, you asked me, don't be concerned. I did this for 5 seconds.
Is about removing the current people from Gaza. I'm talking about Palestinians that
that's what he's reading.
signed many years ago.
That's what he just
What
read.
he was reading about was about
That's what he just read.
Palestinians and
No,
Gaza.
no, he's talking about the Palestinians being hosted there.
That's right.
We're talking about the shut the fuck up, Stanley.
No,
You're talking about Palestinians.
You're just.
They're being hosted there. They're not fucking paying them.
Hey,
Stop
okay,
your
hold on.
fucking lies.
Let's finish, man.
Oh my god, you're so annoying, Stanley. Daniel, can you reread, would you?
Okay, children.
Hold on, just read it again.
Now